Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business right here at selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest is Terry McDougall. We've just been admiring that name and how friendly it is. She's a person that is a high achiever, and she works with business owners and professionals. But many people are successful but not satisfied. In the years I've been doing this, gosh, I've seen that repeated over and over again. So how do we define success? The meaning of success in its terms of stress, burnout, health, relationship problems, it leads to all of that. You're worshipping the money and the position, forgetting what you're actually working for. Is it possible to balance that professional achievement and personal happiness in order to have true success? By shifting a mindset that is more positive, solution orientated, and by recognizing how to invest in one's time, energy to the bigger return on investment. First and foremost, folks, the investment is on yourself. She is an executive and career coach and CEO of Terry B. McDougall Coaching. She helps high-achieving professionals remove obstacles that keep them from being stuck, and so they can enjoy more of that success and satisfaction in their lives and careers. Before becoming a coach, she was a long-time corporate marketing executive where she led teams, developed strategies, advised senior leaders to drive business results. She's the author of The Winning Game of Work, Career, Happiness, and Success on Your Own Terms. She's also a host of Marketing Mumbo podcast. A great name. Welcome to the show, love.
Oh, Sarah, thank you for having me. I'm excited for our conversation.
As I said, there's so many people that I've interviewed that kind of got the nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and then eventually the cosmic 2x4 to flatten them and saying, you're working 18, 20 hours a day. Where do you have time to enjoy your success? And is this really the success? Or is success really what you thought it was going to be? And we are always chasing that illusional or delusional picture of what success is, right? And when people so-called get there, oh, you've got everything, but they generally lose the family, the home, themselves, right? So it's all that. It's okay. We have a beautiful doggy in the background who has an opinion there, and I quite agree. So I think first we have to define what success is, right?
Yes, we do. And, it's different for everybody. But it is important to get clear on what it is that you want from your business, from your career, from your life, and keep that in mind as you're designing your life.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's very common that as we start to move towards the things that we set for ourselves as goals, that we need to continually think about how do we do this optimally.
Mm.
And, I've seen it with business owners, I've seen it with corporate executives or people that are moving up the corporate ladder that, a lot of times they have the talent and the intelligence and the drive to have that quote unquote corporate or business success, but a lot of times have not ever been schooled in how to prioritize, how to look for those leverage points in their business so that they actually can work less, work smarter, and get a bigger output for less effort.
If we managed our own lives like we manage a business, then we would be managing the time where we can enjoy the success. But we don't seem to do that. Everything, oh, I've got to pour, the business is young, I've got to pour all the time into it. Oh, we're in a growth spurt, I've got to pour all the time into it. Oh, I've got so many clients, I've got to pour all the time into it. But if you don't pour that time into you, it's all going to be really a waste of time.
Yes, absolutely. I really believe that we only have so much energy as humans, and we've got to be careful about how we invest that energy. And a lot of times, if we're not paying attention to ourselves and we're not cordoning off a little time to rest and recharge or to do things that we enjoy, that what we'll find is that we are in a perpetual survival mode.
Yeah.
And that's, I would just want to remind everybody that's the fight or flight or freeze. I mean, at best, maybe you're just tolerating the things that you have to do. It's sort of like that, whatever,
Yeah.
I don't like it, but whatever. That is a very energy expensive way to operate. And in reality, when we're threatened by, say we're chased by a bear in the woods or something like that, the adrenaline spurts that go into our body, it's there to help us outrun the bear or, find a place to hide. And a lot of times what will happen is that people get into this perpetual survival mode at work or in their business, and it's sort of like having the pedal to the metal without
Mm.
really having their car in gear. They're
Yes.
just wasting a
Pushing the
lot
car.
of energy, right?
Yeah.
A lot of energy. And it's important to step back and sometimes really see what's going on and be much more thoughtful and intentional about how we invest our time and energy. And it's understandable why we don't, because
Mhm.
a lot of times we feel that pressure to, oh, I've got to perform, or this order needs to get out, whatever the thing is that we're telling ourselves. But if we really took a moment to plan and think, um, it might take a moment longer to plan, but we're going to be more efficient when we start taking action and probably can get more done with less energy. But a lot of times we can't withstand that moment. It's too anxiety provoking to take the time.
But there is a point. Stress takes over, and stress has no reason, and it doesn't take a breath. So you have to force stress to take a breath. And
Hmm.
you can't have clarity or know what to do next if you're in the middle of a tornado. So sometimes it's like, no, I'm sorry, we're just shutting down. We're not going to address any of this because whatever
Yep, that's
decision
right.
we make right now is going to be destructive. And I
Yeah.
need to step away, recenter, refocus, calm down so I can actually see what's in front of me. But we don't do that as business owners or even in corporations. It's like emergency, foot to the pedal, all hands on deck. But do you know what you're doing? You're just
Yes.
reacting rather
Yes.
than dealing with the situation.
Yeah, we're really not tapping into our full capability or our full consciousness or brain power when we do that. And physiologically, when we're under stress, and when we're in that fight or flight mode, our range of vision does actually narrow. And I like to talk about it like when you're under tremendous stress, you're looking at your world through a pinhole
Mm,
and you can't really see everything that's going on. You can't see, all you're focused in on it, that threat,
mhm.
right? Being very hyper vigilant. Oh, there's a threat, I need to worry about that. But a lot of times if we can just calm down and take a moment, it's really like pulling back the blinders, and we
Yeah.
start to see that there are many more options for how we can choose to behave in that moment. And sometimes it means that you're going to have to step back and you may need to reprioritize things so that you build systems,
Hmm.
so that you take time to train people so that you can delegate work to them that maybe you feel like, oh, I'm the only one that can do this right.
Yeah.
But that's a very low leverage way to operate in
Yeah.
your business.
That was my next word that was popping into my mind, delegation.
Hmm.
Especially entrepreneurs. Nobody sees the vision like I do. They're not going to do it the way I do it. And so obviously in any form of business, you want to put like purposed people around you, people who share that vision. But you have to understand that their instrument is just as important, and maybe they're going to play it differently, but
Hmm.
it's going to be extremely beneficial. So it is, the more you're clunched, it's got to be my way, I'll have to do it myself, the worse it's going to be for you, because now you're just crumbling everything, as opposed to handing it off to someone else and say, look, this is the end result I want. How do
Yes.
we get there? that delegation. But that's a really tricky thing, isn't it? Delegating people with something that, it's your baby.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times what happens with um, entrepreneurs or leaders in business is that they maybe have done something for so long,
Yeah,
or they're drawn to something and they just sort of instinctively know how to do it. And so they don't delegate. I mean, part of it is that maybe that perfectionist thing or just a real attachment to making sure it gets done right. But also part of it is that they have to take time to think about all of the steps. They have to think about, how do I explain to somebody else how to do this? And I've seen it a lot in the corporate world, that somebody's a really high performing individual contributor and they get promoted to be a manager, and they hold on to the things that they did as an
yeah,
individual contributor as they get promoted. But they're actually not doing their job when they do that,
yeah.
because they're being entrusted with more resources and they're supposed to be getting as much out of the resources they've been entrusted with as possible. And if they hold on to things, that means they're not doing something at a higher level. But it also means that, when you get promoted, or as your business grows as a business owner, you need to learn new skills.
Mm,
And if you're a solopreneur and then you get to a point where you have employees, you do need to step back and think about, what's my highest value work and what are the things that somebody else could do. They might not do it as well as I do, but they actually could do it. And then it's also important to take that time to think about, how do I pass along the knowledge? How do I communicate what my expectations are? How do I choose the right person on my team to delegate this to? And how do I train them? And then, maybe it's, how do I do that in a way that's repeatable?
I think one of the big things is, how do I listen? Because we're hearing our own voice, we're hearing our own gears, but when you are collaborating, or building a team or in a big corporation, if you're not listening to other people, their concerns, their ideas, their skills, you're not going to, it's like a conductor not listening to the people playing the instrument. You've got somebody with a violin in the back there and
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
you need to know how to listen, because then you can hear or see someone's strength. I hear what they're saying. This person would be really, really good in that department. Or this person would be really good as a sounding board for me. But if you're busy projecting all the time and you're not listening, you don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to handle the wonderful gifts that are all around you in the form of people.
Absolutely. And I've seen often that when we let go of things, when we delegate, when we're clear about what the objective is, not necessarily dictating all of the steps that somebody needs to take, but being very clear about what the end goal needs to look like, that often once somebody gets the hang of whatever this thing is that's been delegated to them, they they probably figure out a better way to
Mm.
do it than maybe what you did, right? And that's what's really, really beautiful, is just the possibilities of really leveraging a team and leveraging people's talents. And there's something really beautiful too about giving people full ownership of
Mhm.
things, instead of kind of holding on to it or delegating something that's been half done. I actually have an analogy for that, and that is, when you start on something, and this is a mistake that I made when I was first a manager, is that when I get projects in, a lot of times I'd get started on it because that's what I was used to doing as an individual contributor, and then I would realize, well, I'm a manager and I have a lot, I don't have time to finish this. So I would delegate it to somebody on my team, but it would be sort of halfway done. And I realized that that was like giving somebody a half-eaten sandwich.
Yes.
They didn't get to pick what kind it
Yeah.
was. It was already had a bite out of it, and maybe that, they didn't want that kind, right? So I learned to just say, okay, I got this in. I'm going to immediately, I can't talk,
Immediately.
immediately delegate it. Yeah, yeah. And that's I also think that sometimes when people first start in management or, move from a solopreneur to having more employees, that, they're just not used to delegating, or, sometimes they might feel like, they're cheating if they're
Yeah.
giving the work to somebody else. And,
Yes.
again, I remind a lot of people I work with is that when you move into management or leadership roles, your job is not necessarily to do, your
Mm,
job is to make sure things get done.
right.
There's a difference.
Yes. And that comes into, inspiration begets invitation. When you inspire others by the vision of what the company stands for, by the mission of what the company stands for, you're inviting them to be a part of it, to bring part of themselves and their own vision to it. And you've got to, yeah, see, he agrees again.
The same dog walked by. She doesn't like her for
That's
some reason.
okay. If dogs could talk, my goodness, what they would have to say. Same with cats, right? But I think this is one of the things is we do what we do, whatever it is, because we want other people to benefit from it. But if we're not willing to share it, or, I'm a solopreneur. I don't have employees. I wear all of the hats. And believe me, there are times I wish I could delegate out to various people. I haven't yet found that in under my umbrella. But I love collaborations, because
Hmm.
what you're doing is you're taking the two missions that are in harmony or in sync with each other, and you're just going to be beautifully be able to expand that. But if you're inviting people on to be part of your team, first they must be inspired by what you're doing, and you must be inspired by who they are and what they
Hmm.
can bring to the table, and then you really are building your orchestra.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you very much, and I have been amazed in my career that when you approach collaboration with an open mind and with a recognition that there are possibilities and opportunities there, that sometimes you can be so delighted and amazed by the things that happen,
Yeah.
like even beyond your wildest imagination.
Yes. Well, who says that we're meant to have it all? Yeah, all right, if you're an artist, it's your painting. Generally, you don't get people coming in on that painting with you. That you're
Hmm.
painting that invitation, right?
Hmm.
But you're inviting other people to see it and what it means to them, what it's going
Hmm.
to invite them to do creatively in their own lives.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
stepping into our own creation is really, really important. But then going back to the management skills, the time management skills, and then the people skills. There are so many people that, I've known two people that opened up coffee shops who hated people. And it's like, why did you open up the, oh, it's good financial business. But
Hmm.
if you don't like people and you're the grumpy one on the other side, who wants
Hmm.
to come back there? Because people don't
Right.
go out just for the coffee, they go out for the ambience, right?
Hmm.
So don't just get into a business because you think, cha-ching, ka-ching. It's got to be something that suits you and that you can really immerse yourself into.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. I think it's about the purpose. I
Mm,
guess the Simon Sinek. Start with why.
yes, yes. The why and then what you want to get out of it. And, if you've got people, I want to be rich, if that's your
Hmm.
only goal, I'm sorry, you're going to fail. You may get rich, but you'll never be enriched.
Yes, I think you're right about that. And there's so many different ways to become rich, right? I mean, so like, how do you even begin to determine what your the goal is that's going to get you to that financial goal? It's just, I don't know.
Shouldn't be a
Uh,
money driver, should it? Money is something that,
I
yes,
don't think so.
yeah,
I mean, because I think that like what money is just a symbol.
yeah,
I mean, and money enables certain ways of being and certain experiences. But a lot of times you can have those ways of being and those experiences without having money, or have it with having less money.
hmm,
So it's all, to me, it's about mindset, and it's also about, sort of like how you resonate. And I think that that's kind of what you were saying earlier about the coffee shop owner,
hmm,
that we're attracted to people that sort of resonate at a higher energy level, that want to connect with people, or who, are very opportunity focused or connection focused, and versus somebody who's, like in this like win-lose type
Yeah.
situation, like, oh, I want to do this because I'm going to get all their money, right? That's a
Yeah.
win-lose kind of
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
And that's not very attractive. It's actually kind of repulsive.
Yes, it is. My son has his own restaurant, and before that, he was a flipper of properties, and he made really good money.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
he's been a foodie from the moment he came out. He loves
Hmm.
good food, and he was cooking from very young. So he's opened up this restaurant, and of course, obviously, COVID and everything else, it's constant struggle, right? So, but
Hmm.
he's become innovative and creative. And you remember the show Cheers, where everybody knows your name?
Of course.
Well,
Yeah.
that's his restaurant. He has got locals that go in there, they only dine there. And whether
Hmm.
they're just picking up because they can't eat inside or they can eat outside or whatever the case is,
Hmm.
he's having record breaking days because he's learned to pivot. Okay, people can't sit inside. Let's offer them special takeouts at special prices, full meals, and
Hmm.
this and that.
Hmm.
And that's what you've got to do in your business. Yes, you have this plan, but Mr. Interruptus comes along, and if you can't learn to pivot and adjust your sails, you're going to sail right into a storm.
Yes, yes. Part of the reason why I started my podcast was because my book came out a year ago, right after the COVID shutdown,
Mm,
and a lot of the in-person marketing activities that I had planned were obviously shelved,
mm,
and so I started um, getting podcast guest appearances, and enjoyed it so much and loved it so much, and so much of what you're talking about in terms of just, coming together with people that, or have sort of, you connect with on
you're on the
sort of
same
an,
wavelength.
yes, on the
Yes.
same wavelength, you're resonating.
Mm,
I loved it so much that I thought, oh my gosh, I love this, and why don't I start one focused on things that I'm passionate about, so I can talk to the types of people that I love to talk to. So, sometimes, as they say, when life gives you lemons,
mhm.
you can make lemonade if you want to, or
If
you
you
can
want to.
complain.
Or you can complain. And of course,
Yeah.
you have the people that complain. And yes, there are certain businesses that are so reliant on people coming in that they can't
Yeah.
do things virtually and or,
Sure.
can't do takeout because they're a massage therapist or this or that. And yeah,
Hmm.
and they're like the village. We need to support those that are in that stifleization right now. But I've known, again, quite a few people who have put their whole business on hold because it was literally a hands-on type business,
Hmm.
and have gone and done something else in the meantime,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
And it's okay to do that. Just think about it. The experience, you're getting bread on the table, so you're not worrying about your roof over your head and your food in your stomach, but the experience that you're going to get from that. From that other job or whatever it is, from pivoting, is just going to
Hmm.
carry back into your business when you open up again. So
Yes.
it's again the attitude, isn't it, at how we look at something. Is it doomsday, or or is it something? Okay, all right. What do I need to learn here? Do I need to just go in a totally different direction? Because this is
Sure.
the time to really have a good look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to, I mean, it's difficult when we're faced with adversity or disappointment, and I think it's very natural for us to want to try to avoid it, or to get
Hmm.
angry about it, or begrudgingly accept it and just kind of sit in our misery. Like, it's just a human experience to do that, but we can choose how long we stay there, right? Like,
Yes.
it's natural, when you've gotten a big disappointment or, like a death or illness or something like that. Of course, we need to maybe take care of ourselves and retreat and heal and get our strength back, but we need to come out of that as soon as possible. And a lot of times, we're not really harmed, it's just more of a mindset
Yeah.
thing. And if we can recognize that, and quickly shift to, like, well, this is bad, but maybe it's worse for other people. How
Yeah.
can I help them?
Yeah.
Or, this, I don't like this, but maybe there's an opportunity here. What would happen if I sort of like flip the switch? What would this look like if I was looking at it through an opportunity lens? And when we can do that, we have more control over the situation. We don't have to be the victim.
We can all take that moment and have a pity party for ourselves. That's
Sure,
okay. It's part of kind of
absolutely.
grieving a loss of some kind,
Yes,
right? And
absolutely.
we do need to do that because that's your own self-love and self-care. Just,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
don't, become your own walking stick. It's we've all got challenges in life, and this last year has certainly
Oh my
pushed
gosh.
people in challenges which we're still
Yeah.
in, and we're still going to be a while before we come out of it completely. But what an invitation it has been for us to really have a look at our lives and go, all right, what is success to me? I'm at home. Gosh, my kids are grown. I never knew they were that tall because I never saw them. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And oh, I find I've got this hobby I like to do, and it calms me down or it rejuvenates me. And I never had time to do that before.
Hmm.
So there is always a gift in something, even if it's in tragedy. There's always a gift in something,
I
and it's just a
agree.
question of how we look at it. Now, you came from a marketing world before, and I
Hmm.
think, once a marketer, always a marketer, because it's there, right?
That's so true.
Um, and that comes again into that pivoting, if you have to pivot in your business. Marketing is still really essential, but we've totally changed how we do marketing now, haven't we?
Yes, and I mean, for somebody who graduated from college in the 1980s, pre-internet, that
Yes.
I've seen a very big change in the marketing world. One of my early jobs was print production management for direct mail. And that was we did a lot of direct mail back then, and obviously a lot of things have gone online.
Hmm.
I mean, pretty much everything has gone online, and there are new platforms and new tools that are changing all the time. But I think with marketing, the most important thing is really to step back and think about what action do you want your target audience to take, and design a strategy around that
Yeah.
before you start thinking about, should I do Facebook ads or should I
Yes.
do,
Yeah.
email marketing? Um, yeah, and because there's a lot of, just like any journey that you go on, there's a lot of different paths that you can take, but the first thing you have to do is figure out what's your destination.
Yeah.
What's the goal?
When I ask people for their information, their bio, and 3 social medias, because I have literally had people send me 20. And it's
Yeah.
like, I look at it and go, how the hell can you manage this? You can't.
Hmm.
And it's like, pick the ones that are going to serve your audience.
Yes.
And the other important thing is with marketing nowadays online is the interaction. It isn't just about
Yes.
blah blah in your face. I've got. It's developing relationships. It's speaking to what the people's needs are, and forming that following. Because if they like you, they will support you. But if you won't give them the time of day and you're
Hmm.
just throwing something in their face, they're going to be offended by you. So, yeah.
Yes.
And of course,
Yep,
now it's
that's
gone to
right.
WhatsApp and, your messenger sign up, you'll send business through here. No, no. I draw the line of where I do business. And I think that's something we have to do in our lives. We have to, okay, it's 5 o'clock, computer switched off, end of day. I'm not going to do the business on my phone now. Whether I have
Yes.
family at home or whether it's my time, I've got to be strict with my hours and fill those other hours in my day with something I really love doing.
Yes, you're touching on a topic that I work with people a lot on, and that's boundaries.
Yeah.
And it does go back to, if you think about what kind of life you want. And when I say life, I'm also including business, career, however you make your living, because that is part of life. So we hear people talk about work-life balance, and it's like, well, by the way, like when you're working, you're living too.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think that it is important to think about, like, okay, well, what kind of life do I want to live? And what boundaries do I need to put in place? One of the things that I've seen a lot during the pandemic is that with people working from home, that they have a very difficult time drawing that boundary between work and home.
Hmm.
I've talked with people who, their dining room table is their office. And it doesn't matter if it's Sunday morning at, 6 a.m. or, Wednesday night at 10:30 p.m. They're walking by and they see their computer and they feel a compulsion to stop and check email.
Yes.
And that's not fair to yourself,
Right.
because you're only getting paid for a certain amount of hours, even if you're on salary. Um, but also it sets a poor precedent.
Hmm.
And believe me, I've seen it in the corporate world where maybe I would be out at an event, or on a business trip or something, where I was with colleagues at a late hour, and maybe we were curious about something, and they'd say, "Oh, well, text this person because they answer at any time."
Right.
So it might be 10:30 at night and we're texting, and they get back immediately, Johnny on the spot. And I I never would do that.
No,
um,
because, as you said, the boundaries, you've got to draw the line. You have to compartmentalize. That's another word I have a difficulty with.
mhm,
Um, I love my work. My work very much is me, right? But then
mhm,
this is the pleasure part, as you know, with a podcast. All the editing side of it
mhm.
is the work side of it,
Yes.
and don't take on more, which says me. I normally do 4 shows a week. I've been doing 8 shows a week lately, so okay, I need to start saying no. But it's draw the line, and okay, now what am I going to do to water my own plant? To rejuvenate myself, because there's other things I could be doing. And if it's just going for a walk or reading a book or watching TV, um, reaching out to some loved ones. Oh no, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I've got to go. I've got an appointment. No, nobody wants to hear that,
Right.
right? Nobody
Right.
wants to hear it. Put your work
Yes.
thing in, and now it's time to share with other people. And don't be looking at, well, I'm going to fit you in 5 minutes. Nobody wants to be fitted in for 5 minutes.
No, not at all. And also that, this recharges your batteries
Hmm.
when you take the time to do things that you just enjoy. Just living and playing and being creative and connecting with people. That recharges us. So that when Monday morning comes and it's time to get up and go to work, that we have the energy to invest in our work, and that we're not, we don't get up and we're just a dried husk, dragging ourselves out with gallons of coffee.
Right, exactly. um, you've called your book, winning the game of work,
Yeah,
and that is that kind of that balance thing that we've been talking about. But life is a game, isn't it?
I
It's
think
meant
it
to be
is.
played.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Mhm.
mean you're meant to play others. That's a different type of play. But
Mhm.
it's meant to be played. You're meant to have fun with what you're doing.
Mhm.
If you said to someone, well, you're going to work 8, 9, 10 hours a day for this amount of money for 5 to 6 days a week, but you're not going to enjoy it, but the money's good, would you do it?
Well, I wouldn't, and I will tell you that I feel like I was so blessed to, when I was 22 years old and I got out of college, my boyfriend at the time, his mother gave me a book called What Color's Your Parachute?
Mm,
And she had done some career counseling, and she said, "Do not apply for any jobs or interview for any jobs until you have read this whole book and done all of the exercises." And I thought, I was just ready to hit the ground running. I
yeah.
got my college diploma and I wanted to get a job and start making money. And I'm so thankful that she gave me that advice and sort of forced me
Yes.
to do it, because it made me realize that when we can work at something that we're good at and
Mm,
that we like to do, that it makes work much more enjoyable, and it's something that we can work at for a long time. And I am so grateful to her for suggesting that to me, because it set me on the road to marketing. I
right.
was an economics major in college. I wasn't a marketing major, and I didn't even really understand what marketing was.
Right.
But once I did all the exercises, and I did the evaluations and research and all that kind of stuff, I realized that actually my first job was in publishing. But I was in the ad sales department, and it got me on the road to marketing. And that was a really good fit for me. It fit naturally with what I was good at. I'm creative, good with words, good with colors and symbols, and all of that. And who knows, if I had gotten my first job, like my sister actually, unfortunately for her, got her first job in an accounting firm, and she hated it and quit after 6 months, and then waited on tables for 10 years. So you never know.
No, you don't.
You get off on the wrong foot, it might not be a good thing.
Or you don't get off on a foot at all. I'm always referring to this book, Who Moved
Oh
My
yeah, I
Cheese?
love that book.
And
Yep.
but I also feel that our personality traits are going to be ones that will decide whether we are going to get into gear and sniff out and scurry new opportunities, or whether we're going to be the hem and haw where he's like, oh, wait until my stomach's rumbling before I realize there isn't any cheese anymore, or hem, which
Mhm.
just wants to sue someone to give them back their cheese. So,
Mhm.
if we can identify who we are. I'm an advocate. I'm a screaming blue person, so very kinesthetic. And if
Mhm.
we understand who we are, we understand what our abilities are and what we can bring to the table, but also what we need that stimulates us. So
Yes.
these little self-discoveries of yeah, that sounds like a wonderful job. Oh,
Mm.
fantastic. It takes me around the world. There's only one problem. I hate flying. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
know who you are,
Right.
how you are perceived by other people, by what you project, but it will also steer you in the right way as to what to do with your life.
Right. Right. I say quite often to people that I'm working with that it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle, because we walk around as ourselves. We just do the things that we do, and it's very hard for us to step back. It's almost impossible for us to step back and see ourselves the way that other people see us. And some of the mistakes that I've made, especially earlier in my career, was to make an assumption that other people saw me the way that I saw myself. I
Exactly.
wanted to be a leader and I wanted to move up, and I thought other people could see that in me. And I realized that I wasn't showing up in a way where people recognized that about me. And, I think that when we can do that introspection, or maybe get input from other people about how they perceive us, that it makes us more effective at talking about who we are, what we're good at, how we add value. And it helps us to connect with people, and also for people to understand, like, where or how can I interact with this person to create value, or to do something interesting.
Mm. Well, it's your conductor and how to move forward in life, but um, we have to accept that we see this in our children, and I've seen this over and over again. That people have a passion at childhood, and they have these abilities, but then they no, go and get a real job, have a real career.
Hmm. Hmm.
Go and get the career, work like a dog, get married, 2.2 children, the picket fence, the whole
Hmm.
name of thing, and then realize that they're not enjoying what they're doing,
Yeah.
and that what they used to do as a child is really where that passion is. And
Hmm.
it's never too late to ignite that again, because now you've got skills and know-how how to actually manifest that into something
Yeah.
that you love to do. But don't get stuck on the fence and go, oh yeah, well, that was yesterday, I've missed that boat. No, there's always other
Oh
boats coming
no,
along.
that's absolutely. And you can build your own boat
Yeah,
too. And
exactly.
I actually, a lot of times, I mean, that what you described is such a common situation. And I had a client a couple years ago who, went to college, who's a very good student, and he didn't know what he wanted to major in. And his dad said, "Oh, well, accountants make good money. Why don't you major in accounting?" So he did. And he got a job at one of the big four accounting firms, and he was doing fine moving up. But the only problem was he hated it.
Yeah, exactly.
And what happens with a lot of those, I think it happens in law, it happens in accounting, that whatever the firm has when you get hired, if they've got a lot of that work, that's going to become your specialty.
Yeah.
And he hired me because he really wanted to make a pivot and do something more creative. He actually had a game of the month club that was his side hustle, which I was like, oh my gosh, this is like so cool that you're so creative. He loved games, and so he set up this company with a friend, and was really at a loss of, like, how do I pivot to do something different that honors my creativity. And he just started having conversations, like with some encouragement from me. I said, you need to get out there and start talking to
Yeah.
people because, you probably don't want to quit accounting because he was a father of a young child and
Yeah.
just bought a house and all of that. But it ended up just through conversations that he found a job with a regional. I mean, he actually met somebody just for coffee
Hmm.
and talked to him about what he liked to do and his background and so forth. And he got hired by this regional accounting firm that didn't even have a job opening, but they recognized that he was a guy that could mentor the younger accountants, that could bring his specialty into the firm and start up a new practice, could be sort of middle management because they didn't have a lot of, 30 something year olds there. And, I think that the lesson there is, I think, twofold is that check in with yourself
Hmm.
at the times when you're making these critical decisions and have confidence to realize that, bottom line, you can make money doing anything,
Yeah.
you know, and it's important to be happy and you will live within, hopefully you'll live within the money that you make too. If you're a musician, you can probably make a living wage being a musician. You might turn out to be a big rock star or something
Hmm.
like that. But if not, you could still be a working musician who makes a living.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're probably going to love it if that's your passion
Right.
versus saying, hey, dad said to go to, get an accounting degree because you can make a good living doing that. Right. And
Well, yeah, it's the old paradigm, you've got to be a lawyer or a doctor. Those are the esteemed things. And,
mhm,
and of course, the almost two professions that are hated now,
they
um,
are.
yeah.
They are.
So,
I
yeah.
know a coach who works with women that want to get out of law. And
Mm,
what I've actually heard a lot, and I don't want to malign any lawyers because I know that there's a lot of people that love it, but that a lot of people are good at law school and they love law school, and then they get into the practice of law and
yeah.
they don't like it.
No, because what everything you do is you think you're going to make a difference. There's the illusion of what you
Hmm.
think you're going to do, and then there's
Right.
the reality of what really is going on. And when you look at so many of these things, some corporations, some laws, even the police department, we're looking at a sewerage pit that hasn't been drained. And
Yeah.
all right. And so you're going in there thinking you're just going to come along with your Mr. Clean and you're going to set it all right. And you
Yes.
realize you don't have a bucket big enough. And
No.
it can get very, very despairing. And I think a lot of people then slump into depression because they think they failed. And no, it's that
Hmm.
how did you think you would succeed? It's going to take more
Hmm.
than one of you to go in there. You need an entire team that's got each other's back to go in and all of you together forcibly change things. So we have to understand if we want to make changes, it literally is one kind of toenail at a time. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's it's reminded me of like why I wrote my book and why I named my book what I did. The winning the game of work, because a lot of people go into work very naively,
mhm,
and much like what you said, like, oh, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to come into this giant corporation or this government or whatever it is and make a difference. And you absolutely can make a difference, but you're not going to boil the ocean.
right.
And you also, you know, used to tell people on my marketing team that, working in marketing is not always easy because you're beholden to a lot of people within the organization. And everybody thinks that they're a marketer, and everybody has an opinion about the things that, many people have studied and are experts on, but everybody's like, oh, I don't like that color or that headline's stupid or whatever. And, I would tell my team, like, you've got to play a good game of offense, which means you're going to be good at what you do, but you also have to sort of protect yourself. You have
Yes.
to play a good game of defense. You have to understand the context that you're operating in. You have to keep an eye on everything that's going on around you, and be selective about when do you bring up a certain thing or how do you interact with certain people in the organization. One of the other things about looking at work as a game, it's sort of like poker. You hear about I mean, poker inside it's a game of chance, it's a game of skill, both with, you know, I suppose the odds of what cards you have and what are the odds you're going to get other cards that
Yeah.
you
The luck.
need, but also, you know, understanding who you're playing against
Yeah.
and what their tendencies are, you know, and sometimes I've seen people, you know, put themselves in very precarious situations because they're not paying attention. They're saying, well, this person should act like this. Why are they being so, you know, harsh or so mean? And I always think, well, step back and understand who it is that you're playing with,
Right.
and then you decide what you do accordingly, you know, because in many ways it's sort of like you're going to run out and play American football without the pads on. And you know, if you're the 150-pound kicker, you're going to run out in front of a, you know, 300-pound tackle. You know, it just doesn't,
Squish.
right, you know, you're not going to win in that interaction.
Right.
So you have to be cautious about that
Yeah.
and be thoughtful.
Yeah. I think if we could look at life as a game, and that like any game, yes, you want to win, but it's what you learn on the game of life as you go.
Hmm.
And be exploratory, be intuitive, be mindful, be heartful, be soulful. All of these things should be going with you in that game, because
Hmm.
as you said, if you know your opponent, or you've allowed that little voice to speak to you, allow your senses to speak to you.
Hmm.
Don't make that move. Oh no, make this move over here, this feels right. And
Yes.
tap into those beautiful feelings. It will navigate you very well through the game of life. But this doesn't mean to say that you're not going to land on your ass sometimes.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
but then
You
it's like
will.
the getting back up. Okay,
You
all right, that was the
learn.
wrong move. Yep, not going to do that one
Hmm.
again. So,
You learn. And I've seen a lot of people that will, you know, they'll lament the fact that they're losing the game, but they almost refuse to look at it as a
yeah,
game.
yeah.
And you know, and they're frustrated, and I'm like, well, step back and see what's going on here, and then choose what action you take, right? Because it is a game.
Yes.
You know, whether it's fair, whether it should be or not, is beyond, you know, argument. You know, it just is, and learn how to play it.
And there's so many winning goals along the way. Don't look at it as, the ultimate win, and then now you're resting your laurels. You won
Yeah.
that round.
Yes.
Right. You won that round.
Yes.
Now there's more rounds to go. And sometimes you're
Yes.
going to lose, but you're not going to win. Let's put it this. Sometimes you're not going to win, but you will never lose if you have
Hmm.
learnt along the way. It isn't about our destination and then hallelujah. It is about, well, now there's a new game in town that you've got to adjust for.
Yeah.
Isn't it exciting?
Yes, absolutely. I really believe that you never lose as long as you keep playing.
Yeah.
You know that um, I've heard that fail is an acronym for first attempt and learning,
Yeah.
right? So we might fall on our face, but we just have to keep getting up and going forward. There's actually this other saying that I want to share, which is, you know, even when you fall on your face, at least you're moving forward.
Yes, exactly. I've done that a few times,
Me
literally.
too.
That's the whole thing about life, though, that life is meant to be in flow. If a business, rests on its laurels and isn't upgrading or isn't pivoting
Hmm.
to the new demands or the new changes, they're going to become obsolete. We know in our
Yes.
energy sector, coal and fossil fuel is going to go. It doesn't matter how
Yes.
much they're trying to hold on to it, for the planet, for ourselves. The change is already in momentum. And
Right.
so rather like, Haman who moved my cheese, stop fighting the inevitable and look at how you can go with the flow to the new
Hmm.
without losing yourself. What can you adopt from it? What can you adapt to it? What can you bring to it to stabilize it? It
Hmm.
doesn't mean your way is, oh yeah, you put you out to pasture now. No, you're going to have to learn some new skills, but your
Yes.
old principles and skills and management is still extremely beneficial to the new. It's just
Hmm.
a new application of the game. And so you've got to be willing to grow from something and change. Do not rest on your laurels, because that's a
Yes.
business
Yes.
death.
Everything's changing around us, and so we can either, like you said, get in the flow and go with that change, or we can sort of, try to hold on to that branch on the side of a river and have her arm ripped off as, the momentous pulls us down, because it is going to change and things do change. And as you were talking, I was just thinking about, things in my lifetime, businesses in my lifetime that went from being, category leaders, the exemplars to being obsolete or bankrupt.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Sears. When I was a
Yes.
kid, my parents shopped at the Sears department store for pretty much everything.
They were around
Um,
for over 100 years. What astonished
yeah.
me is that they already had a catalog. And I don't understand why that catalog didn't go online and all right, close the
Hmm.
shops, but still have the online business. And
Sure.
they
Sure.
didn't. They just
Yeah.
disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you've probably heard about Kodak, the film company,
Yeah.
was an early leader in digital photography, but they hid it. They did not want to kill their cash cow, which was film,
Yeah.
and so they were surpassed by other companies. And I guess when they got into it, it was already too late for them to, come into a leadership position in the marketplace. And we just have to realize that sometimes we've just got to recognize things are changing, and we may have to like sacrifice short term to stay relevant longer term.
Yeah. And whatever you get into, it's going to require X, Y, Z amount of energy, intellect, intuition, abilities, and how much are you willing to give? And when it does come to the changes, are you capable of those changes, or is that the time to bring in the young blood that
Hmm.
can see that kind of future, and they will make the changes with your guidance? Okay, we're not going to put a hole in the ship for you to insert this and that. We can do this in a different way, but yes, we need to interject the satellite dish, on the
Hmm.
boat. So,
Yeah.
that's the time to tap into the young people and bring them into the fold, because they will keep you relevant. They will keep you alive instead of
Hmm.
holding on for dear life. It's anything that you've got in your fist, the clutch can just come right out. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
hire the young ones, especially when it comes to anything internet or digital based, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing to recognize too is that we as older people have wisdom that we can share with the younger people too. And um, I think it's very easy to think that everything that we've learned is obsolete,
Hmm.
and that's not the case. I mean, we have a lot of wisdom and experience that we can share, and we can learn from younger people too.
Yeah.
It's not um, and
And vice
even the
versa.
internet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my kids have. One of my sons learned how to play the piano by going on YouTube.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's amazing things that you can learn, and I also think sometimes for more experienced people that it can be difficult to go back and have that learner's mind, right?
Mm,
Because it's hard not to be a master of something if
yeah.
you've gotten to a point where you're very adept at most things that you do. It's hard to go back and learn,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's okay to say, okay, well, I'm going to do this as best I can, and I'm going to realize it's not going to be perfect right off the bat, and maybe I'll just try to iterate it, or I'll learn enough to hire somebody to do this for me. But there's so many different approaches that we can take to stay relevant and keep learning.
I've known quite a few business people who say I build it to make myself obsolete. So they build their business, they put
Mm-hmm.
everything into it, and now they become obsolete because they can have other people running it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure. That's the
that's
best.
yeah, exactly, because now you're reaping the benefits, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
you just kind of
exactly.
now and again being the conductor, making sure nobody goes too far afield, that it's steady
Sure.
on. Um, but again, we've got to be willing to adjust, to go with the flow, to let go of old ideas, because that idea that you had 2 3 years ago is already either obsolete or somebody else is already
Mm-hmm.
doing it. So what idea do you have right now that's current that you can act on? So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
don't delay something, right? Get on with it, because your next thing you know, somebody else is doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you hear in Silicon Valley, it's all about fail fast, right?
Yes.
Fail fast, learn, optimize, and keep moving.
Right, exactly. So, how do people find your book, and what are you offering people in form of services, love?
Well, my book is on Amazon worldwide, and it's called Winning the Game of Work: Career Happiness and Success on Your Own Terms. It's both an ebook and a paperback. In terms of services, I offer one-on-one coaching. I am currently working on some workshops that I'll be launching later this summer. I'm also going to be doing some free workshops. So if you'd like to follow me on LinkedIn, my handle is Terry B. McDougall, and I will be publicizing everything that I'm doing out there. And if you'd like to check out my website, it is terrybmcdougall.com.
I'm just going to spell that for people, for those that are listening. It's Terry, TerryBMcDougall.com. And you can find her on LinkedIn under that name, Facebook under that name. And then she's got the Game of Work book here,
Yep.
and the book is on Amazon, Winning the Game of Work. So everything is there, ready for you to reach out, have a conversation, see if there's a fit, because it is about whenever you are in business, you can't serve everybody. That's because you've got to serve people that there is a common wavelength. So what you're saying, they're receiving, and you're hearing what they're asking. And if you don't have that, it doesn't matter that you need a sale, that you can't
Hmm.
serve them. So that synergy of really connecting, and that vibe really connecting, is really, really important if you really want to serve somebody the best way.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sarah, if you don't mind, I'd like to also just give the location of my podcast, which is
Yes.
marketingmambo.net. And I talk to all different kinds of very interesting people in and around the field of marketing. And I've had some incredibly smart people that talk about how to be more effective in marketing, how marketing and sales can work together better, the intersection between design thinking and marketing. I just talk to really fascinating people. So if you do any marketing, if you're interested in marketing, you may be interested in this. Or if you just like to hear really smart, interesting people from around the world, check it out.
The beauty of podcasting is that we are sharing other people's experiences, and those experiences have been their life lessons, and that makes them the best teacher possible now. It's the reason why I do the podcast, advocating for the people who are making a difference in the lives of others. We learn best from those that have taken the journey before us, because
Hmm.
they understand, and they
Yeah.
know what it is you need and what you don't need, and they know how to help you, pivot forward. So um, we've got to be adjustable. We have to be open to change, and we've also got to be open to listen what somebody else can see for us, because sometimes we can't see it for ourselves, and so it's really, really important. And yeah, I'm definitely going to look at your podcast. If you ever need some cool people in that business, I've interviewed them too. Happy to share.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I would love that. I would love that.
it There are people out there doing wonderful things, folks, and it's just a click away. So whether you contact her through her website, whether you contact her, listen to the podcast, whether you read her book, understand she's here to help you in your business, whether you're corporate, whether you're a solopreneur, whether you're a small business. We all need help. Please don't try and do it all on your own. I promise you, my neck hurts from all the hats that I'm wearing. So it is good to have somebody that can show you how to navigate, how to delegate, and how to just find the time to enjoy your own life as well, because we want you to have satisfaction. So
Yes.
thanks so much, Terry.
Thank you, Sarah. I really enjoyed it.
Until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com, and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.